Hi, welcome to this week's video. My name's Paul. So today's video it's a shorter video, kind of divided into three parts. The first two parts, there's a watercolor painting and then a charcoal landscape drawing. Just to give you an idea of some of the things I'm working on. Like I said, at the beginning of the month, beginning of February, I wanted to do more drawing every day. So I sort of set myself a challenge to do at least one drawing every day. But I also wanted to keep going with the watercolor painting because I don't know about you, but I've found that if I don't do any painting for a while, I start to get a bit rusty and the paintings sort of go down in quality a bit. So this one is similar to some of the other ones I've been doing recently. It's a mixture of sepia and different blues in the sky. I have a list of the colors in the description box below. And then a couple of cadmium yellows, the cadmium yellow deep and the cadmium yellow light. Again, it's on Arches paper and it's a rough surface. I think you maybe see on the camera, it is quite a rough surface, this one. So like I say, quick video this week. So then the charcoal drawing, well, I guess I could say, first of all, the piece of charcoal is a bit different from what I'm used to. It's a much chunkier piece of charcoal. It is still just willow charcoal, but it's much thicker. And I struggled with it. I guess the hands are not as, they don't work as well as they used to, sort of thing. So it was a bit awkward, but I'm happy enough with the final results. This little sketch was sort of inspired by a couple of Van Gogh paintings that I've seen where he had like a field or something, but he included some birds. Usually the birds are sort of taking off into the air. And I liked it because it adds in a sort of sense or a feeling of movement into the painting. You know, a lot of paintings, of course, are very static, especially landscapes, but just adding in little elements like that can add in a sense of movement into a painting and add a bit of interest. We know that the birds are not static, so somewhere in our brain we understand that there's movement happening here. And I just use a charcoal pencil to draw on the birds. Putting in this little element, it does a few things. First of all, it creates a focal point within the painting, and that's not something that I often do. Like I say, it also maybe suggests a little bit of movement in the drawing and adds just a bit of interest, I think. And like I say, I'm trying just to add in these extra elements into drawings and paintings, and it may not seem like a big thing, but it does significantly change the drawing, I think. If you compare it to the watercolor landscape, the watercolor landscape I think is much more static. That's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of people like artwork that is sort of calming and quiet, and they don't necessarily want lots of action happening. So like I say, the drawing was sort of inspired by a couple of Van Gogh paintings that I've seen. And so I just wanted to mention a little bit about, you know, for what it's worth, my ideas about copying other artists as opposed to being inspired by other artists. There are pros and cons with both of them. I think with copying, compared to being inspired, copying is a passive thing. You're trying to reproduce a painting. And there can be benefits from that. You can start to think about things like composition and the color scheme that the artist used, and especially when you're getting started, it gives you a chance to just get more experience using that particular medium or using a brush and things. So there is definite good points about copying. Being inspired by is different. It's a more active thing. So in the case of being inspired, you're not trying obviously to reproduce the painting, but you're trying to take elements from someone else's paintings someone else's artwork and trying to incorporate that into your own style and your own artwork. So it is more active, and you have to maybe think a bit more about what you're trying to achieve and how you're going to achieve it. So I think both approaches can be very valuable when you're trying to learn and you're trying to improve as an artist. And that's something that I try to do myself. So anyway, those are just my ideas on copying versus being inspired. If you made it this far, thank you for sticking with me and watching the video, and hopefully see you in next week's video.